Hello, friends. Hello. It's such amazing time of year again when we get to look back and see all of the things that I read this year. I can't believe the year is over. I can't believe 2025 is upon us. But that does mean we do get to look at reading stats, which is very fun for me. I just want to start the video by saying if any of you have watched any of my reading content this year, I just want to say thank you. It means a lot to me for anybody who interacts with my videos in any kind of way. But I guess we shall just get started. So it's really fun to be able to obviously look at all of the things that I read this year, but it's also fun to be able to compare it to the previous year. Last year in this video, I compared 2022 to 2023. And so now we can compare 2022, 2023 to 2024, which is just like so riveting. I know everybody is just like dying to know. So this year I read 291 days out of 365, which is interesting because that is greater than 2023. 2023 I read 273 days. However, this year I read 15,966 pages, which is less than 2023. 2023 I read 16,709. We're going to look at my Storygraph and we're also going to look at my Goodreads. I have a little bit of beef with Storygraph because I export my Goodreads library, I put all the information into Storygraph, but yet it still is like wrong in some things or like it's a little bit off. It's kind of annoying, but that's why we're going to look at both Storygraph and Goodreads. So I read 37 books in 2024, which is 2 over my goal. I think my goal was 35, so I read 37 books. Storygraph says 15,726 pages, but like I said, my Goodreads says 15,966, so we're gonna go with 15,966. But this is the moods for 2024, which is super interesting. This year, things are a bit different than last year, which is fun. My highest category is dark at 15 books, which I don't think is unusual for me. And then second highest category was emotional, which I don't even know what that means. Dark and emotional were my top moods of 2024, which I guess now that I think about it, would also describe me. And then tense, mysterious, adventurous, and reflective are my top categories for 2024. Page number, so 27% or 500 plus page books, which is less than 2023. 2023, I was at 35% of 500 plus page books. And then my fiction versus nonfiction, 21% was nonfiction, whereas 79% is fiction, which is definitely different. I read a lot more nonfiction this year than 2023. Now, my genres. This is what I was kind of excited about because this is very different than 2023. So in 2023, romance and fantasy were at the bottom of this graph. There was like one book for romance and fantasy, and this year in 2024, romance and fantasy are my top genres, which I don't know how I feel about that. I was trying to get into fantasy, which kind of goes hand in hand with romance because I was reading romantasy. And then literary is not really surprising. Classic and thrillers is normally up there. But another new genre that's up at the top is contemporary. That was also nowhere near the top for my 2023 genres, so that is new. I did listen to 3 audiobooks this year, which is new for me. I don't usually do audiobooks, but I had a whole video exploring audiobook listening and I really enjoyed that experience. I actually really liked the books that I listened to, and it started to make me question, it's like, do I actually like these books because I like these books, or do I like these books because I just enjoyed the audiobook experience? I don't know. And then for my most read authors, this is also where I have some beef with Storygraph because Sarah J. Maas is correct. I did read the whole ACOTAR series, which we will talk about later, which makes sense. But then Douglas Fee, it says I read 2 books from him, but then I click on it and there's only 1 in there. So I'm like, I don't know why he's on my most read authors. And the same with Gordon D. Stewart. It says I read 2, then I click on it and there's nothing there. I don't know, it doesn't really matter, but I think I only read multiple books from the same author from Sarah J. Maas and then Kevin Wilson. I read 2 Kevin Wilson this year. So those are, I guess, my top authors for the year. And then here is my number of books to pages graph for the year. Huge dip in April and then huge jump in July. And again, the ACOTAR series is to blame for that. And then I did rate my books this year, which is a new thing. So my average rating was a 3.78, which is average. So that is all of my story graph statistics and things. Looking at my Goodreads, you can see the shortest book I read and the longest book that I read. My average book length was 431 pages, which makes sense. My most shelved book was Pride and Prejudice, which believable. And then the least shelved was my Alexander Dumas biography, which is shocking. Why aren't more people reading his biography? Why am I the only person who's shelved this book? On Goodreads, the Dumas biography has 55 people who shelved it, and I am one of those 55 people. So cool. Highest rated on Goodreads is A Court of Mist and Fury, which adds up. And then you can just see all of the books that I read on my Goodreads. So now I want to get into some of my favorites of the year and my least favorites of the year. So I'm going to have to destroy this pile that I have delicately balanced on my couch. This will just make it easier so I don't have to worry about these books falling on me. All right. So we're going to look at all the books that I rated 5 stars, which is exciting that I even have some 5-star reads from this year because I feel like I give out 5 stars really sparingly because here's the thing. Let me tell you why I struggle to rate things 5 stars. So forgive me for bringing this up again. If you have watched any of my other reading content, I talk about this book so often and I'm sorry, I do apologize. But this is why I give out 5 stars sparingly, okay? Because The Three Musketeers, like I said, I'm sorry I'm bringing this up again, and I'm going to try and stop. But The Three Musketeers is my favorite book. This is a 5-star for me. I love this book, everything about this book. And it is very hard for me to have this existing and it be its 5-star self. And then for me to also read something like A Court of Mist and Fury and also rate this a 5-star. I did rate this a 5-star. I had such a good time with this book. I rated it a 5. I love this book. But for this to be a 5-star when this exists kind of hurts my heart because this is just perfect in every way possible. Whereas this is it's just hard to compare, right? They're just uncomparable. The best way that I can explain this is like a fancy 3-course meal. You got your starter, you got your entree, and then you got your dessert, and you've got a fancy alcoholic beverage with it. That's what this is like. This is like a girl dinner. This is like I'm home alone, I'm scrounging my kitchen, and it's going to be delicious and I'm going to enjoy it, but is it the best, most nutritious thing I've ever had in my life? No. Both enjoyable, both great, both 5 stars, but just not comparable, not on the same level, right? And that is why I am going to introduce this graph, okay? I love graphs. All right, as you can tell, this is why I love StoryGraph. This is why I love Goodreads. This is why I bullet journal, okay? I love me a good graph. So here is the graph that I'm going to be using to differentiate all of the 5 stars that I have. So these are all the books that I read this year and gave 5 stars. So basically, to put things in perspective, Three Musketeers is a 10 for quality, then a 10 for likability. So it is 10 out of 10, high quality, high likability, right? Perfect. Amazing language, amazing characters, amazing plot, amazing sentence structure, everything you could ever want, think of. 10 out of 10, Three Musketeers. And remember, all of these books I rated 5 out of 5. All of these books I really liked, but for different reasons, right? So, A Court of Mist and Fury, my girl dinner book, I love this book, okay? I ate it up, okay? However, recognizably, how can it be on the same scale as Three Musketeers? So, A Court of Mist and Fury, I haven't honestly thought about this yet. I knew I wanted to use this scale, but I wasn't sure where I was going to place everything. So, A Court of Mist and Fury is likability. I wouldn't say it's perfect for likability, but it's pretty high up there. I was pretty much foaming at the mouth reading it the whole time. And that's probably a weird picture, but I'm obsessed. But then quality, I would say, is probably like a 5 or a 6, somewhere around there. It's not the most earth-shattering book I've ever read. Could I have written it? Probably not. I'm not going to put myself up there and say that I could have written it, but is it the most incredible thing I've ever read in my life? No. It is a romance fantasy that is written for girls to freak out over. It is the girl dinner of romance fantasy. Delicious, you love it, but are you going to talk about it and rave about it in mixed company? Are you gonna share your girl dinner with your family? No. Three Musketeers, however, that's like never ending. I will recommend that to anyone and everybody. 10 out of 10. So that is where I'm going to place A Court of Mist and Fury. Feel free to fight me on that. There you go. That's what I'm doing. And then I also have Nothing to See Here, which is one of my contemporaries for the year, which is a very new type of book and genre for me, but I really liked it. It's on my to be read again list. Like, I want to reread this. And I haven't thought about this, so let me think. I think the likability, I'm going to put it at 5. Now, don't get butthurt about any of this, all right? I'm just going with what I'm feeling right now. And like I said, all of these were 5 stars. I loved all of these books. Likability, I would say, is a 5. And then quality, I don't know. Maybe it's just another 5. I think it's a pretty even book. I could see somebody finding it boring. I could see somebody not caring. But for some reason, for me, this is great. I love this. So we're going to go 5 out of 5. And then I have another Kevin Wilson, Now Is Not the Time to Panic. This is hard. I think I'm going to lower the likability on Now Is Not the Time to Panic. The quality was about the same. Like, it's about the same level as Nothing to See Here. And this, I'm just going to put the other ones where I see fit. All right. That is where those books fall on my graph. This is my opinion. But yeah, because like all of these are 5 stars to me, but we've got nonfiction, we've got a classic, we've got a romance fantasy. Maybe it's just me, but it's like, how can I put all of these on the same level when they are so different, but all great in their own little worlds? So those are all the 5-star books that I read this year and how I rate them on a scale of quality and likability. But again, don't get butthurt. These are all 5 stars. Now, I have already made a video on books that I'm unhauling, and it's fair to say that those are probably some of my least favorite books of the year because I'm getting rid of them. I like to hoard things, especially books. I like to have books. So if I'm getting rid of them, they probably weren't that great. So I already have a video talking about all the books that I'm unhauling and why. And so if I were to sit here and start to name my least favorite books of the year, it would probably be a lot of that. But I feel like one book that I'm not unhauling, and I don't even really know why I'm not unhauling it, but it's definitely a, I don't want to say honorable mention, but a mention of 2024 was probably Me Before You. This book actually made me angry, and I don't want to reopen those wounds that this book gave me, but I talk a lot about this book in the reading vlog that I did for it. I didn't even rate this book because I still struggle so much with what it did to me. The whole book, I was feeling it and I loved it, but then the ending absolutely enraged me. So I don't know what to rate it because let's say the ending that happened didn't happen and it was the ending that I was hoping for. I might have given this 5 stars. Like, I'm not even joking. That's how much I liked it. However, the ending was so horrendous that I'm like, I can't give it a 5. I don't even feel like I can give it a 4 because of how horrendous the ending is. So I don't know what to do about this. I'm not unhauling it either. I'm going to, for some reason, hold on to it to look at with anger every single time I see it. I've never felt so angry over a book in my life. Just for that sake, we are going to give it a place on this graph, even though it is unrated. I would say quality is decent. Again, I feel like it's about where A Court of Mist and Fury is in terms of quality. Is this just reflecting how I feel about romance novels? Maybe. Why are you, did you just get closer to me? Somebody's at the door. Yeah, is this just reflecting how I feel about romance novels? Do I just not have respect for romance novels? Maybe. But then the likability, the end pretty much ruined it for me, so we're gonna put the likability all the way down there. Yeah. Yeah, there's my graph. Hopefully that like makes sense with you. And if you've got a problem with how I've rated anything, um, but yeah, that's basically all of the stats and everything that I wanted to talk about. I usually talk about my New Year reading goals at the end of these videos. The thing is, I don't really have a new goal. I think I want to keep the 35 book reading goal because I feel like That's a really good number for me. I feel like 35 is challenging enough, but realistic. 35 is like I'm constantly reading something. I'm not going long periods of time without reading something, but I'm not like rushing and reading things just for the sake of reaching a goal. So I feel like I'm going to keep my reading goal the same, and I still want to read new things, like branch out of my comfort zone a little bit and try new genres. So if you have any recommendations for me, I would love to hear them. I'm always open for book recommendations. I'm pretty much down for a lot of things. I will say there are a couple things that I'm looking forward to reading in the new year. One of my favorite series is going to be hopefully releasing the 8th book. So the Cormoran Strike series, which I've talked about before in some videos, but I've been reading the Cormoran Strike books and am obsessed with them. And she just finished writing the 8th one, so I'm anticipating its release hopefully sometime in 2025. I'm really looking forward to that. And then I also have a question. So I read A Court of Thorns and Roses, the series this year. And I know there's a lot of people talking about that series, a lot of people into that series, and I really enjoyed it. But I genuinely am going back and forth on if I should read more Sarah J. Maas because, like I said, it is like a girl dinner of reading. Highly enjoyable, but not necessarily the most nutrient dense content. What are they called? I know she has at least 2 other series. Should I read the Throne of Glass series? Should I also read the Crescent City series? Should I just do it? Should I just read Sarah J. Maas? Or should I just leave it at A Court of Thorns and Roses? I would bet that I will love those books like I loved A Court of Thorns and Roses. But the question is that what I want to be spending my 2025 reading? Is that what I want to be putting into my brain? I don't know. But yeah, so if you have an opinion on that, let me know. Because I'm undecided right now. But yeah, that is all of the books that I read in 2024. That is all the stats, the comparison to last year, and what I'm looking forward to going into 2025. So I just want to say again, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. And if you've watched any of my other book content, I just want to thank you for sticking around and being here throughout my reading journey, if you will. And I hope to see you again in 2025. I hope you had a great Christmas, and I hope you have a great new year. 2025 is going to be a great year. I know it will be. That's all for now. Until next time, bye.